Welcome to Fanfiction Audiobooks. Strongest Thor in Marvel. Chapter 21 Boss appears. It was a behemoth larger than any spacecraft Baital had seen before, almost equivalent to a small satellite. Perhaps it is not appropriate to describe it as a spaceship, it should be called an interstellar fortress. Holy Place Number 2. For the people of Shiniu, the strength of the Kiritas is not that strong, although these soldiers seem to be higher level than ordinary Kiritas. For Thor, who has awakened his supernatural power, no matter how many such miscellaneous soldiers come, he can deal with it calmly. However, it depends on the owner to beat the dog. The key is that the dog owner Thor can't beat it. Thor burst into tears, this is to send himself into the enemy's spring water. Hiding in a corner, thinking about how to break the situation. Do you want to call Carol and demolish Thanos' home in advance? Thor forcibly suppressed this tempting thought. If he really wanted to do this, the two of them would probably kneel here together. This is Thanos' base camp. Looking through the window, in the surrounding void, countless giant leviathans with star destroyers and cruisers cover the sky, obscuring the last ray of light in the starry sky. The reason why Holy Place 2 of Avengers Alliance 4 is so easy to disassemble is that Thanos brought only it. Without the destroyer, the carrier defense was originally limited. Thor found a layout map and got a general idea of the layout of Holy Place Number 2 and the fleet formation. Near a deck near the front of the fortress, there are a large number of fighter jets that take off at any time. And there are relatively few outlying escort fleets over there, and there is a jumping point not far from the opposite. If you can grab a fighting force and rush to the wormhole quickly, you will have a great chance of escaping, although the firepower on the front of Holy Place Number 2 is the strongest. Ah! Don't, let me go, give me another chance. Thor, who was moving quietly, suddenly heard a woman's cry. Purple sweet potato essence, you don't care about your subordinates. When did the Kirita people learn to rob civilian girls? There was a loud gunshot, and then a sound of footsteps approaching quickly, and then met Thor's eyes who had no time to move. Are the top executives of Kyriuitas so perverted? This little girl looks underage at first glance. The little girl in front of her was carved in pink and jade, about 14 or 15 years old, holding a dagger in one hand, and a snatched Kirita firearm in the other. I said I was passing by, do you believe me? Thor looked helpless. The chasing soldiers were taken aback for a moment, then quickly raised their guns and pulled the trigger. For this guy of unknown origin, I have no patience, just kill him on the spot. Well, I wanted to keep a low profile. With a wave of his hand, lightning broke out, and the surrounding Leviathan soldiers were instantly reduced to charcoal. It has to be said that the ability after awakening is very suitable for pretending to be B, and the little girl beside her has widened her eyes. A piercing siren sounded. If you don't want to die, just follow me. Although this is a very cute little girl, in this kind of place, it's obviously not the time to be sympathetic, even self-protection is very difficult. The little girl clenched her weapon and followed without saying a word. Now that it has been exposed, there is no need to hide it anymore, and it is only reasonable to rush to the destination as quickly as possible. Along the way, I encountered many obstacles: Kirita soldiers, vanguard guards, Sokka soldiers, giant apes. Ordinary soldiers can't stop the god of thunder who is attacking with all his strength. To Thor's surprise, the little girl beside her was also very skilled, not much worse than Natalia a few years ago. And when she killed someone, she could clearly see that it was definitely not the first time. Secretly guessing the identity of the little girl, Thor moved forward quickly. The fighter jet is just a few hundred meters ahead, but these hundreds of meters seem to be a natural moat. Thor looked forward with a solemn face, and stopped. 5 figures of different shapes appeared in his sight. The person in the lead was a burly purple humanoid creature with explosive muscles and a height of nearly 2.5 meters. Holding a double-edged knife in his hand, he looked at Thor who was running over, his eyes staring at the world. Even standing a few meters away in front of him, Thor could feel the shocking sense of oppression like a mountain collapsing. The little girl behind her was even a little breathless. Supervillain, Destroyer, Thanos. Thanos. Chapter 22 Showdown. You're Thanos? Thanos? The Titan who ruined his home planet? Hey, it's okay. Thor poked Thanos' sore foot when he opened his mouth. Originally, he didn't want to speak first, but Thanos' aura was too strong, and it would be even worse for him to hold it back. Beside, Ebony Maw, Thanos' #1 henchman, stepped forward and was about to scold Thor, but Thanos stopped him. He said lightly, "Oh? You know me? Odin's brat, he has a lot of guts." Then he glanced at the little girl who was trying to hide behind Thor. Why, didn't even father call? The little girl trembled, with hatred in her eyes and fear in her eyes. She pursed her lips and refused to speak. Thor sneered, "Why, a purple sweet potato essence with bloody hands, who kills half of the people, actually has a daughter? Ha ha ha, I really want to get to know each other, that girl is so harsh. Oh, you people, isn't it all gone? Could it be?" Glancing at Proxima Midnight next to him, he showed an expression that any man could understand. Not bad, not bad, the fat doesn't flow into the fields of outsiders, capable and capable. It doesn't matter if you beat him or not, you can't be cowardly. Except for Thanos, who couldn't see his face, the faces of Proxima Centauri and Corvus Glaive were all black. Ebony Maw couldn't bear it any longer, and shouted loudly, "Shut up! You ignorant guys, how can you possibly understand the good intentions of the Great Master?" Thanos said in a deep voice, "You have to understand the consequences of angering me." He waved his hands as he spoke. "The subordinates understand. There is no experience for minions to send experience. The first one to rush up is Corvus Glaive. Thor dared to fabricate his wife's scandal, he wants to tear him apart." The double-bladed spear stabbed, and Thor avoided the point and hook of the spear, and grabbed the body of the spear while he retracted it. Corvus Glaive was about to react, when suddenly a powerful electric current came from the gun, and his whole body was paralyzed for a while, and then a foot surrounded by lightning in his sight became bigger and bigger. With a loud bang, Corvus Glaive was kicked tens of meters away. Proxima Midnight turned into a stream of light, grazing towards Thor like lightning. Thor didn't dodge or dodge, he raised his disarmed double-edged spear and slashed at her heavily. Proxima Midnight raised his gun in a hurry to block, and the huge amounts of strength made her kneel down on one leg. A shot flew the weapon, and was about to take advantage of the situation to finish her off, when suddenly a darkness fell in front of her eyes. "Be careful!" came the scream of the little girl behind her. Thor picked up Proxima Midnight and blocked the black dwarf's telescoping hammer that was hurled at him. Bang! There was another sound, and Proxima Midnight was hit hard by the hammer, and immediately fell to the side unconsciously. Black Dwarf rushed forward, roaring in anger, and Thor dodged his attack, and went straight to Ebony Maw. Ebony Maw waved his hand, and the metal floor twisted suddenly, turning into spears and stabbing towards him. The thunder wrapped the spear and swept, and the spear shattered. With a sweep of the shot, the black dwarf that was jumping up was knocked out. In this gap, the metal on the ground turned into countless ropes and tied Thor. Ebony Maw heaved a sigh of relief, and was about to turn his head to confront Thanos, when a thick thunderbolt instantly split his body and scorched half of his body. Crispy magicians like Ebony Maw may be very effective against pure warriors or reading streams, but against super magic warriors like Thor, they are simply a gift. Ignoring the black dwarf who had just climbed up not far away, Thor raised his spear, bathed in thunder, and rushed towards Thanos boldly. 3 of his subordinates lay on the ground, and the last one was tricked by a monkey. Thanos finally couldn't help it. This scene is too ugly. Chapter 23 Hard against Thanos. The majestic overlord of the universe is so shameless that he sent his men to consume my energy. Thor laughed. Thanos suddenly had a shit-eating expression on his face. What the hell, am I still playing tricks on you, fat bastard? In fact, Thanos simply thinks that he can handle it without taking action. After all, in his opinion, Thor is just a cheating second generation who he has seen too much, and he is a second generation who has eaten 3 highs at a young age. He is not qualified at all. Let yourself do it. After all, as the boss, how can he do everything by himself? It's just that I didn't expect my horseboys to be so useless. Thor jumped high, raised the double-edged spear surrounded by thunder, and stabbed downward. Thanos raised the broadsword, raised it upwards, and hit it precisely between the tip of the gun and the hook. He blocked the blow and exerted force so violently that Thornton flew backwards. Sure enough, Thor rubbed his sore arms. Just took the lead, and was condescending, and was still easily provoked. There is still a big gap between his own strength and Thanos. The thunderclouds all over the sky exploded, and countless thunder lights bombarded Thanos. Thor took the opportunity to slash at Thanos heavily. Thanos, who had just been attacked by lightning, was caught off guard and raised his sword to block with one hand, but was pulled by Thor with all his strength, and his arm numb and the sword came out of his hand. Before he could launch the next killing move, Thanos grabbed the long spear, so violently that the spear led the person to fall on the side pillar. Boom! The solid pillar was smashed to pieces, and Thor fell into pieces, bit the tip of his tongue to force himself to wake up, and punched Thanos, who was following up hard. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the two fists collided, and the huge amounts of impact pushed Heiyao 4 generals. I don't know why the number of Obsidian V became 4, I don't know, far away. Thanos took 3 steps back before stopping, and Thor flew upside down like a kite with a broken string. If it weren't for Thor's strong enough body, the blow just now would have broken his arm in more than a dozen places. Even so, I still felt a numbness in my arm. No wonder, the Hulk who can fight is autistic. The little girl behind was shocked. Adopted by Thanos since she was a child, she has always hated Thanos and wanted to kill him. But Thanos is so strong, let alone kill him, no one has even injured him. In her opinion, being able to repel Thanos is already something to be very proud of. Thanos didn't give chase, but waited for Thor to stand up. At this time, he had never seen the scene of being beheaded, and the beating was not so fierce. I knew that Thanos in the movie focused on taking care of Thor, and it would be over when others hit the ground, but Thor was punched and kicked, and he had to pick up and continue beating when he fell to the ground. Because of that guillotine, how much hatred! It's really a big hatred. Thanos, you shouldn't mess with me if you provoke a dragon or a tiger. I can't bear shit and urine, and I can't bear you. Here, Thor refused to admit defeat and climbed up. A thunderbolt shot over, and Thanos took it all. Fighting again, Thor swims with Thanos while disrupting him with lightning. This time, he persisted for 3 minutes before being beaten to the ground. Xingyun, kill him, as my daughter, I will forgive you this time. Thanos said coldly. He needs to learn a lesson. Xingyun's face changed, and he was struggling constantly. And Thanos seemed to be patient enough to give her time to think about it. Not far away, Gamera, who just arrived, looked at Xingyun worriedly. She was very conflicted in her heart. She hoped that Xingyun could be obedient and avoid punishment, but she also didn't want her to become a ruthless killing machine. No! With an extremely angry roar, Xingyun suddenly erupted. I've had enough! You demon, you destroyed my homeland, forced me to be your weapon, and even tried to transform me into a killing machine. I'm fed up with this kind of life. She went all out, and there was no fear in her eyes anymore, only extreme hatred remained, and her originally beautiful face looked very hideous. You are not my father at all, a devil like you is not worthy of love. Is that so? That's a pity. Thanos walked forward slowly, followed closely by Heiyao. Ebony Maw waved his hand, and Nebula was hoisted. Gamera reached for the dagger at his waist and looked at Thanos nervously. Just when Thanos was approaching Nebula, Thor on the ground suddenly roared, and his whole body exploded with all his strength. A thunderbolt, thicker than ever before, burst out from him and hit Thanos hard. "Ha, do you think I didn't see that you stayed strong before? Make you more desperate?" How could the battle-tested Thanos fail to see his tricks? This distance was too late to dodge, but he was able to eat it unscathed. Neither Thanos nor the four generals of Heiyao noticed a small deep purple in the purple thunder light. Chapter 24 Out of Trouble. A bright purple light flashed, almost illuminating the entire night sky. Even if it is as strong as Thanos, it cannot block the power of the power gem. A sudden attack at close range. When he realized that something was wrong, it was too late. The thunder light mixed with the light of the power gem shrouded Thanos, unable to even resist a little, flew backwards in an instant, crashing through countless buildings. A large area of the surrounding ship cabins was turned into ruins. From a distance, Holy Place No. 2 seemed to have been opened with a big dark purple hole, and the atmosphere of destruction was raging everywhere. Heiyao standing behind Thanos will all fly upside down. Even though Thanos blocked most of the attacks, their physiques were far from Thanos' toughness, and all of them were seriously injured. Among them, Ebony Maw, who is weaker in physique, would have been a corpse at the moment if he hadn't been far away and directly dragged past Black Dwarf to block him at the critical moment. Black Dwarf is really unlucky. Damage resistance comes first, benefits come later. Thor yanked across the nebula and rushed to the nearest fighter. Although the current Heiyao 4 has no ability to resist, Thanos will never die so easily, and it will be difficult for him to leave after he reacts. "Are you going to stop us?" Thor looked at Gamera, an electric arc brewing in his palm. Although her image to her is not bad, if he dares to stop him, he will never show mercy. "No, I want you to take care of my sister and don't get caught again." She threw out a small card, and the fighters who inserted the card would be identified as their own. This is what she got after winning the duel between the sisters. The authority is much higher than that of ordinary soldiers. The authority of this card is much higher than that of miscellaneous soldiers. Thor caught it and jumped onto the fighter plane with Nebula. He didn't think about taking Gamera. Although she is also the adopted daughter of Thanos, Gamera's position in Thanos' heart is by no means comparable to that of Nebula. If she is taken away, Thanos will hunt and kill him all over the universe. The fighter plane roared and took off, rushing into the night sky. The explosion just now was too violent. The surrounding fleets were all focused on Holy Place 2, and countless rescue planes were circling. No one noticed a plane taking off. Even if there is, it will only be considered as participating in the rescue. Not long after leaving, Thanos walked up. Apart from the broken battle armor, there were no obvious injuries on his body. Gamera knelt down and pleaded guilty. "I'm sorry, father, I'm not his opponent." "You're right," Thanos said flatly, waving his hand. Knowing that an enemy is invincible, it is stupid to rush forward to die. As a generation of heroes, Thanos often behaved very generously. Ebony Maw walked up behind him, gnashing his teeth. "Master, they left not long ago, if they catch up now." "No need," Thanos shook his head, "every jump point has many options, and it's unlikely to catch up. Besides, it's not the time to start a war with Asgard. The breath just now should be the power of infinite gems, right?" Thanos took a deep look at the dark starry sky, and said slowly, "The locations of the three gems of time, space, and mind have been determined, and there are 3 remaining. Intensify the search. The universe needs redemption, and there isn't much time to rest before our ideals are realized. I am Destiny. Your sister actually cares about you very much. The one you should really hate is Thanos." Through several teleportation points in a row, Thor turned back and said while setting his destination. "Now that she is brought in, it is necessary to instill correct ideas in her and not make her as extreme as the original." Nebula didn't speak, because today's day gave her too much shock. "Set, go to Midgard. Please confirm." confirm. Thor pressed the button with one hand. Wait! Xin Yun's exclaimed voice suddenly remembered. Chapter 25, The Beginning of the Dual Champion. For most races in the universe, passing through wormholes more than 50 times in a row will cause physical discomfort. Have you checked how many times we're going to jump? It seems to be more than 1,500 times. Soon, Thor began to feel dizzy and his stomach was overwhelmed. Poor little sister Xingyun is already delirious, and I'm afraid she won't be able to resist for long. The fighter plane trembled suddenly, it seemed that it couldn't bear the pressure of continuous transmission and began to malfunction. Thor sighed, hugged Nebula, and pressed the emergency eject button. Sakaar, this is a chaotic planet with poor law and order. It is used by many people from other planets as a garbage dump and criminal exile, so the whole Sakaar is full of garbage and the people are tough and violent. This is a lawless place. However, this kind of place often has a prosperous side, and some profiteering industries that are not suitable for the outside world will flourish here. Sakaar's characteristic industry is the championship competition held by Gao Tianzun. The winner gets everything he can dream of: glory, money, beauty. And the loser? No one cares about losers. Because the death rate of gladiators is too high, most people are unwilling to participate. Even strong men who are confident enough in their own strength often have more channels to get everything they want. So most gladiators come from hunting by scavengers. Thor crawled out of a hill of garbage with Nebula in his arms. A group of grotesque scavengers surrounded him, and one of them was holding a strange gun. This is a web with a strong paralyzing effect. I can't deal with Thanos and you mobs? Thor was furious, rushed up and beat them all up, knocking them all to their knees. When Nebula woke up slowly, Thor asked her with a troubled face, "Have you brought any money with you? Can our cosmic coins buy a flight?" "Money, even if you bring it, you won't bring universe coins. This is what you got from those poor scavengers just now." Nebula glanced at the surrounding environment and shook his head. A normal planet may be barely enough, but here is such a mess, the price may be many times higher. Well, Thor shrugged helplessly. In this kind of helpless place, there will always be a shortcut to get money quickly. The simplest is the fighting arena. Our top priority now is to collect the money to buy the spaceship and leave here. In a bar, Thor said to Nebula, "Next, I will sign up to participate in the duel as a free man, and challenge the one who is said to have won 66 consecutive victories. Guy, win the bounty." "What about me?" Nebula asked. "You're in charge of betting all our money on me to win." "Then what?" "Bet all your winnings on my next match, bet on me to win." Is it so coquettish?" Xingyun flew forward. But when he thought that this guy could force a 50-50th split with Thanos, Xingyun felt relieved. He really had the capital to show off. How could a boss of Thanos level put down his figure and come to such a place? In fact, in Nebula's eyes, being able to fight Thanos for so long without dying is almost a 50-50. "Are you planning to sign up for the gladiatorial competition? And directly challenge the champion?" Gao Tianzun, who was wearing a rich gold coat, looked surprised. Normally, many people hope to be the terminator of the winning streak, but if it is at the cost of dying, then forget it. No one wants to challenge the streak boss, except outlaws, or forced prisoners with bomb collars. Although he felt that Thor's strength was good, he didn't expect him to be so confident. This conclusion of good strength comes from the men who blocked Thor from coming in just now. 3 of them have been turned into coke by Thor, and the last one has been turned into a puddle of scorched bread batter by Gao Tianzun. Chapter 26, Pikachu appears. After Thor left, Gao Tianzun was thinking about the next arrangement. After a long time, he said, "Give him a gold card with 1 million universe coins." The fat ant beside her looked at the boss in surprise. "Are you sure? Has the iron cock plucked?" Gao Tianzun said with a gloomy smile, "If he loses, the gold card will go back to me, and it's useless to give him more money. What if he wins? If he wins, the value he can bring will far exceed 1 million. Not long after returning to the residence, someone sent a gold card. In theory, he was good enough to buy a small flight boat and get away. But after receiving the money, it is not easy to do things, but he promised to play at least 3 games. Anyway, it's not much to go back to Earth recently. 8 years away from the most recent major drama. 1 million, all bet on himself according to Thor's request. At the same time, throughout Sakar, rumors began to spread that there was a kid who didn't know what to do and who was going to challenge the defending champion in 3 days. In the rumors, a lot of analysis of strength was revealed, and the summary was that challenger was kicked in the head by a donkey. Nebula was very dissatisfied and wanted to find out who was talking nonsense, but after searching around, he found that one of the sources of the rumors was Thor. What is this operation? 3 days later, on the dueling arena, Thor walked proudly on the arena stage with a giant sword in one hand and a shield in the other. Opposite him was a monster with a huge lizard head over 8 meters tall. Although this guy doesn't have a weapon in his hand, his pair of barbed claws are more than 1 meter long, his thick arms are much thicker than Thor's thighs, and he has a big mouth full of fangs. A black hole 1 meter wide. It's not Professor Lizard, don't guess, it's just a cannon fodder, a made-up race. After all, the universe is full of wonders. Good evening ladies and gentlemen, you will see the most exciting matchup tonight. Gao Tianzun's voice sounded, causing more than 100,000 people to cheer. Gao Tianzun continued to introduce, the side that defends the ring. I don't think I need to introduce more, this is the champion who has won 66 consecutive games, the tyrannical Tyrannosaurus Rex. His skin is harder than steel, and ordinary swords can't pierce it. He, and his sharp claws have already disemboweled 66 ignorant and fearless challengers. He changed the subject. Let me introduce today's challenger, the electrified one Mr. Pikachu. The overwhelming hiss sounded, even overshadowing the roar of the lizardman. No matter in terms of size or appearance, Thor, who is less than 2 meters long, is incomparable with the lizardman. The long sword in his hand might not even be able to pierce the lizardman's skin, right? And the shield, under these sharp claws, is no different from paper. For a while, many spectators were placing bets. Thor's odds are even higher, 1 to 123. It could have been higher, but after I noticed that Xing Yun bet 1 million on Thor, Gao Tianzun, a shameless old thief, also bet 1 million. Amidst the cheers of countless people, the lizard man launched a charge. The next moment, he wanted to tear this little ant into pieces. Thor rolled over, avoiding its sharp claws, which slapped the ground heavily. Thor raised the shield, and with a few muffled bang bang bang, it nailed the steel claws to the ground like nails. Lizard man, he struggled to pull out his claws, and roared angrily. But Thor didn't give it time to struggle. He raised his long sword and leaped high, jumping into the roaring bloody mouth of the lizard man Zhang Kai. Amidst the panting sound of the audience, the lizard man let out a muffled sound, and his huge body froze. The next moment, flesh and blood flew from the back of the neck, and a big hole was broken, and Thor rushed out bathed in thunder and lightning. Boom! The giant fell to the ground, and Thor put away his long sword. There was silence for a while, and a few seconds later, deafening cheers suddenly broke out. Chapter 27 Resurrection. In the VIP room, several maids are giving Thor a massage. Gao Tianzun thoughtfully sent several maids who conformed to human aesthetics. If Thor wanted to do something, they would certainly not refuse. It's just that Thor still has integrity in many cases, especially when there is a beautiful underage girl who is always staring at him. Nebula walked in. Hey, when are we leaving? Thor didn't answer, he glanced at the taskbar that had just appeared. Hey, congratulations to the host for triggering Gao Tianzun's exclusive mission, Power and Glory. There is nothing better than a hearty duel to explain the romance of a man. Mission objective: win 300 consecutive battles in Sakar's dual field. Mission reward: active skill, Resurrection. Resurrection: resurrect a target that has been dead for less than 30 hours, with a 1-year cooldown. Note: because of infinite gems, the dead cannot be resurrected, and the natural dead cannot be resurrected. The fewer words, the better the reward. The ancients did not deceive me. The simple resurrection technique, although it has limitations, can still be regarded as the strongest reward I have seen since the system was opened. Although it seems incomparable with Time Gem has a big limitation: the stronger the target controlled by time, the higher the requirement for the gem user's strength. Just like Shi Chuangkai can easily turn back the time of the entire street with gems, countless decedents can be saved from accidents. But Ancient One has no way to use gems to prolong her life. She would rather use the dark power of Dormammu to quench her thirst with poison. And this resurrection skill does not have this limitation. The only downside is that it takes too long to cool down. As far as Thor knows, this is the ability of Gao Tianzun in the 616 universe. And in the 199,999 universe he is in, Gao Tianzun is just a joke. Winning 300 games in a row, it seems that this is a long-term task, and I have to stay in Sakar for a long time. Thor turned his head and asked Nebula, "Is there any place you want to go?" Nebula shook her head. Her homeland was completely destroyed long ago because of her resistance to Thanos' half-destruction policy. Actually, following Thor, the big reason is because I can't find my future direction. Thor smiled and said, "Then we'll rest here for a while. For ordinary people, this is hell. But for us, it's often easier to live on this chaotic planet. What do you think?" Nebula nodded. Last night, 2 guys in the bar tried to strike up a fight with her after failing to strike up a conversation with her. In the end, she chopped them up and fed them to the fish. The law enforcement team rushed to know that she was Thor's person, and immediately nodded and bowed and sent her inside. It made her feel good. If this kind of thing is on the planet of order, it will be very troublesome. Because of the previous gamble, Nebula brought back more than 100 million universe coins, and they bought a mansion not far from the arena as a temporary home. It's a pity that there will not be such good odds in the future. 3 days later, Thor participated in the second match, with a single stroke of thunder. A week later, in the third game, the opponent was a no-brainer fighter. With enough strength, a sword pierced people, armor, and shields, and pierced the heart. A very powerful Mr. Pikachu appeared in Sakar, which not only ended the winning streak, but also had very cool skills. More people came to watch, and all the seats were full for a while. Boom! The real man never looked back at the explosion. Amidst the cheers that filled the sky, Thor put away his weapon and turned back to the exit. "Ah, Pikachu is my god. Baby, I want to give birth to a monkey for you." Thor glanced evilly, and found that the person who was yelling this was an alien beauty with a human body and a bull's head, and his face turned pale and he quickly quickened his pace. When passing Gao Tianzun's office, he suddenly heard a voice, "Scavenger 142, there is something to deliver." Looking at a black and strong ant who smelled of alcohol walking towards the front. Number 142? That surviving Valkyrie? Chapter 28 Valkyrie. Many years ago, there was a family ethics drama in Asgard, well, a palace coup. Odin, who was obedient to the outside world, attacked the inside, and sent a powerful army Valkyrie to crusade against Hela. Different from the Valkyrie that people in Norse mythology give benefits to warriors, each of the real Valkyrie is the most powerful warrior, and can be called the third most powerful force under Odin and Hela. However, Hela's strength is too strong, and her night sky sword is a super artifact no less than Mjolnir. After a fierce battle, Valkyrie was almost wiped out, leaving only the last survivor, and the huge amounts of Hela consumed were also sealed by Odin. Later, the unwillingness to be defeated and the guilt of her friends made the last Valkyrie self-defeating. In order to escape these, she came to Sakar, where she became one of the main fighters of the Grand Master, under the alias of Scavenger number 142. To this day, the Valkyrie has become a legend in Asgard. The Valkyrie of this universe does not belong to the name of any of the 28 Valkyrie that I know. She was the last to join and usually kept a low profile because of her distinctive looks. Not long after she joined, she participated in the Great War, so most of the Asgard people didn't know her name, including the stonemason who stayed on Earth. The name of Valkyrie is not mentioned in the movie, and many versions of the original book have different names, so the Valkyrie in different universes is different by default, and the movie universe treats her as not belonging to the well-known 28 people. After all, there are no black people in the Valkyrie we know. Watching Valkyrie enter Gautianzun's office to bargain, Thor also walked in. "Hi, good brother, you're here." Gautianzun rushed forward with enthusiasm and wanted a hug, but Thor quickly moved away. Thor is now his super cash cow, brilliant thunder, excellent physical skills, powerful strength and flexibility that does not match his weight, allowing him to bring huge traffic. Gautianzun seriously doubts that even if Thor is allowed to embroider flowers on the field, there will be a bunch of people willing to contribute tickets. Saying hello to Gautianzun, Thor turned to Valkyrie and said, "Let's chat in another place." A powerful Valkyrie is an important force for the current Asgard. I don't think there's much to talk about. Yes, because you are Valkyrie. Valkyrie froze for a moment, then his face turned cold. "No, I'm not Valkyrie, I'm a scavenger." "You are escaping. Escaping won't solve any problems," Thor shouted. I think I should express my opinion." At this time Gautianzun interrupted, "I think if you and His Royal Highness have a misunderstanding, you should really have a good discussion, and then consider how to make a decision." Gautianzun is completely helping Thor. "You are the son of Odin? No wonder. Your Royal Highness, I am afraid you will be disappointed. I will not participate in your family farce. It was because of this that I lost everything last time. Therefore, no matter what happens in Asgard now, it will follow I don't care anymore." Valkyrie was instantly agitated. Gautianzun helped his forehead, and he seemed to be doing a disservice. Thor was thinking about how to answer when he suddenly saw a system task appear. "Hey, congratulations to the host for triggering the exclusive quest for Valkyrie, Brave Souls." At one time, Valkyrie was the most powerful warrior in Asgard, but was exhausted due to a civil war. Now, you need to liberate their souls and let them be redeemed. Mission objective: redeem the 28 Valkyrie sacrificed. Mission reward: artifact, Soul Castle. Soul Castle, the interior is a huge hall, which can guide the souls of the dead Valkyrie and let them enter the Soul Castle. The heroic spirit will be attached to the host and can be reborn in the Soul Castle after death. This means that he can re-own this Valkyrie guard? Thor's face sank and said, "You are right, the Sword of Valkyrie is used to protect Asgard and its own people, not to fight for power. But do you know that Ragnarok is coming, and if this hurdle cannot be passed, Asgard will be completely destroyed?" He looked at Valkyrie's dark color, and added the last sentence, "For the future of Asgard, I will reach an agreement with Hela, so that your sisters can be redeemed, and the prestige of Valkyrie can reappear in Asgard." Chapter 29, The Eve of a New Era. What is Valkyrie's biggest egg wish? Revenge? No, she and Hela don't actually have a particularly big feud. The crusade against Hela was counter-killed, and what she hated most was not Hela but Odin. What really broke her was the loss of her sisters, the loss of the Valkyrie army, and Odin covering up everything about Hela, including this history of course. If it was simply to reconcile with Hela, she would never agree. But if it can be exchanged for the salvation of the sisters, that is another matter. She thought about it and said, "If what you say is true, I will consider serving Asgard again after you inherit the throne. But don't expect me to continue to participate in the royal family battle. This is enough." Okay, at least 10 more years, I'm not in a hurry. Gao Tianzun's expression changed a little. He was worried that the traffic king who had finally met would just abduct Valkyrie and run away, and he and Thor were only considered a cooperative relationship, so there was no reason to restrict him. But since it is not urgent, let's go, then don't worry. After a few years, no matter how good a gladiator is, it will bring aesthetic fatigue. Thor settled in at Sakar, playing an average of 1 match every other week. There are actually very few strong men in the universe. The tyrannical Tyrannosaurus Rex I encountered for the first time is already the best among them. Most of the opponents are actually very bad. Even Nebula, who has not grown up, can easily deal with it up. But Thor still kindly gave them a chance to perform. A super gladiator who can fight and act can bring considerable benefits. Gao Tianzun said that he likes this kind of person the most. Later, under Thor's suggestion, Gao Tianzun added a new rule: any prisoner or slave who wins 30 times in a row will be free and can get a lot of money, beauty, and power. Whenever this time comes, the tickets for the arena will increase by more than 10 times. Thor is the 30th opponent. Xing Yun gradually got used to such a comfortable life. When she is free, she will also go to the arena to show her hands. Well, in order to encourage more people to sign up for the expanded arena, slaves are not allowed to kill free gladiators, and the restraints around their necks can be activated at any time. On the other side, in Asgard, Thor's disappearance once attracted the attention of many people. Loki often deliberately gloats in front of the 3 of Fandral. The 3 warriors of Asgard hate him, but they can't beat him. Loki, I just like the feeling when you want to beat me but can't beat me. Sif and Maya Hansen were very worried at the beginning and asked the queen. Although Frigg told them not to worry, they were still uneasy. Fortunately, Thor sent them a message later, and they were relieved. For the long-lived Sif, this time difference is nothing, as long as they don't lose contact. As for Maya Hansen, she often ignores Thor for months when her research goes into a frenzy. In Odin's induction, Thor's life was not in danger, so he didn't care. Bear boy, let him accept the beatings of the society more. The time came to 2005. Asgard, Odin woke up from Odin's sleep long ago, but he didn't mention Thor. Frigg also kept silent. On the earth, Mjolnir is still lying there quietly. Stark continues to live a life of a playboy, unaware that a poisonous snake around him is becoming more and more unbearable to him. General Ross's super soldier plan has not progressed, and he is about to lose patience. His daughter, Betty Ross, is graduating from college this year and will join his military experiment team after graduation. It looked like everything was peaceful. People at this time can't imagine that this may be the last piece of the earth. A new era is coming. Chapter 30, The Fat House Era is over. Hey, congratulations to the host for completing the task, strength and glory, and get the reward, resurrection. On the duel arena, Thor kicked away the corpse of an alien creature on the ground. After nearly 5 years, the 300-game winning streak was finally completed. In the past 5 years, not only have I completed the mission, but my skills have also improved a lot, and I have become familiar with various fighting styles. Counting the time, the official plot is about to start, and I am about to leave. I have greeted Gao Tianzun before, so I will go back to Xingyun directly. In recent years, thanks to Thor's superstar effect, the arena's income has been particularly high. Especially after Thor's weight returned from 400 caddies to 200 caddies, it attracted a lot of Yangu who didn't care about the arena. The two are happy to work together. Although I know that Gao Tianzun is not a good guy, at least this old man is quite interesting if there is no conflict of interest. What's more, strictly speaking, Thor is not a good thing. Back at the residence, Xing Yun jumped out with anticipation and asked, "How is it? When are we going back to Asgard?" Xingyun, who has grown up completely, exudes a wild charm because he has not been mechanically transformed like the original work. Over the past few years, they have been together day and night, and the relationship between the two is a matter of course. A foreign country, a lonely man and a widow. Now Xing Yun has a much more cheerful personality. Glancing at Thor, she actually looks forward to going to Asgard, just hoping to meet his parents, Odin and Frigg. Thor called out, "Heimdall, take us back." Years ago, Odin announced the release of Thor from exile. Originally, I wanted him to experience the beatings of people in the society more, so that he could beat them again when he came back. I didn't expect Thor to be so open outside. A dazzling colorful light pierced through the sky and Thor and Nebula disappeared. Gao Tianzun watched from afar. To be honest, he kind of misses it. I don't know when he will meet the next partner who is really interesting and can bring traffic. Finally, back. Thor gave Heimdall a big bear hug. Back in Asgard, Sif and Maya Hansen ran to greet him at the first time, and ran into Nebula. As a latecomer, Xing Yun naturally would not dare to have any opinions. As for Sif and Maya Hansen, they know the customs of Asgard very well, and they naturally know how tough the folk customs of Asgard are. At some banquets, they even fight whoever they see, and run away if they win. In the past few hundred years, it was only under the strong request of Queen Frigg that it became a little more civilized. Compared to Thor, who is the crown prince, he is simply a model of a good man. More importantly, they are not little women attached to men, and they all have their own careers. In fact, when Thor is not around, I can concentrate more on work. If you switch to the kind that needs to revolve around men, I'm afraid it will blow up after 5 years. Loki ran out with a relaxed expression on his face, with the usual beating on his mouth. "Brother, I didn't expect you to be alive, I thought you were dead." After looking at Thor's figure, exclaimed, "Wow, I suddenly believe that you went out to eat vegetarian food for 5 years. Weak chicken, you are doing your best every day again." Walking towards the palace, the atmosphere became obviously a lot more serious. At the gate of the palace, Frigga looked at him worriedly. "After you go in, don't make your father angry." She would never forget Odin's terrifying look when he just came out. She only saw this expression once, the last time, it was in. Thor knew it well, and he followed Frigga into the hall. Frigga rarely enters the hall at ordinary times, but today, she must go in. Just entering the hall, Thor narrowed his eyes. Odin on the throne has a serious face, wearing a golden armor, and holding the weapon that has accompanied him for thousands of years. Gun of Eternity, Kungunir. Chapter 31, The Controversy Between Father and Son. I'm depressed now. I foolishly thought that you would be different, unique, and a benevolent king. But now I realize I was wrong, you are exactly like Hela. Odin's voice was thick anger. His own seal has mysterious power, and a very powerful magic ability is required to remove it. Kamartaj will never meddle in Asgard's family affairs, so the only one who has the ability to be lifted. And according to Heimdall, Thor disappeared in that particular place in Northern Europe 5 years ago. If Odin still can't guess, he will be the Lord of the 9 realms in vain. The powerless Thor can escape from Hela and break the seal, so Odin has to guess the worst. When Frigga heard the name Hela, her gaze became even more dignified. The name is taboo, and Odin never mentions it. Hela. Thor sneered. Now that he knew it, he didn't plan to hide it anymore. I never agreed with your point of view. My point of view will not change. It is still the same as it was 7 years ago. Thor. Frigga exclaimed. If Thor could admit his mistake, as the sole heir, perhaps he wouldn't be too harshly criticized, but she couldn't predict how Odin would deal with it. Odin ignored him, and said in a deep voice, "That's not the reason for you to collude with Hela." Collusion? No, I also do not agree with Hela, I am fighting to defend my people. I will not take the initiative to launch an unjust aggression, but for those who dare to invade Asgard, Thor said murderously, even if you are far away, you will be killed. A great king must learn to be kind and tolerant. In many cases, violence cannot solve the problem. Odin was firm. My kindness will only be given to my people, not to the enemies who will harm the dead man people. As for tolerance, Thor sneered, forgiveness and tolerance have only existed in fairy tales and dramas. In reality, the so-called tolerance is just a helpless forget it. Violence may not solve the problem, but it can definitely solve the person who caused the problem. Odin finally understood that Thor had already gone his own way, and it was impossible for him to convince him anymore. He put down the eternal spear, and said dejectedly, "If you do this, you will push more people to the enemy's side, and you will lead Asgard into the abyss." Thor looked indifferent. "Maybe, but I think, no matter what the ending is, it's better than being swallowed by the eternal fire in the dusk of the gods." "What?" Odin and Frigga shrank their pupils at the same time. "You know Ragnarok's prophecy." Ragnarok is a series of great catastrophes prophesied by Norse mythology, including a great battle that caused the death of many important gods. And this world, Ragnarok's prophecy is that Surtur will destroy Asgard. No one knows this prophecy except Odin and Frigga. I've known it for a long time. So I hope that on that day, Asgard's power can be united to face the catastrophe of the doomsday, instead of being wasted in meaningless royal fights. Odin was silent for a long while before slowly saying, "This is why you befriended Hela?" "I understand. But you need to know that she is already a lunatic, so why do you believe that she is willing to work with you to prevent the prophecy from happening, instead of destroying Asgard himself?" Frigg hesitated to speak. In fact, she is still willing to trust her child, but she will not disobey her husband. Just because she has a share in Asgard's glory, just because she was once the crown prince of Asgard, just because she is my sister. Thor loudly said. Hela may be obsessed with Asgard's throne, but her feelings for Asgard will never be weak. In the original, when everyone flees and Ragnarok descends, only Hela fights for Asgard at the last moment. Thor turned his head and walked out of the hall, turning his head and said, "I just told her what I said in the hall that day. She didn't do anything against me, but broke the seal for me. You don't understand her at all, and you don't understand I." Odin sat slumped on the king's seat and murmured, "Could it be that I was really wrong?" Frigga stepped forward to comfort, "No, you are not wrong, and Thor is not wrong. Your philosophies conflict, but they are all for Asgard after all. In fact, as the wisest person in Asgard, she identifies with Thor more. Those who love war will die, and those who forget war will be in danger. I believe in Thor, he will be an excellent king." Chapter 32 The Prelude to the Birth of Hulk. In the end, Odin chose to compromise. On the one hand, although he still cannot accept Thor's ideas, he has to admit that Thor's ideas are more balanced than his own and Hela's. This kind of thinking is easier to be accepted by the public. On the other hand, and the most important reason, I really have no other choice. Loki doesn't think about it, and Hela, it's even more impossible, and the old Odin has no time and energy to cultivate another successor. Your Majesty didn't make things difficult for you just now, did you? As soon as he entered his palace, the three Sif women surrounded him, and it was Sif who spoke. Although she didn't know exactly what happened, she still vaguely heard Odin's roar. Sif is most worried about Odin and Thor getting into trouble. As a warrior of Asgard, in theory she must be loyal to the king. But there is also that special relationship between her and Thor. Once there is a conflict, she will feel very embarrassed. Thor smiled and shook his head to comfort him, "It's okay, it's just that I've been running out for so long, and I want to show my majesty again." Sif gave a pop smile, and couldn't help but pat Thor lightly, and the atmosphere suddenly relaxed a lot. After today's showdown, presumably Odin will not interfere with himself again. But at the same time, I will not guide myself in all aspects like before. Now Thor, even if he succeeds to the throne, he is no longer the heir of Odin's policy. He is creating his own era. Does this mean that the future missing father mode is gone? Shaking his head, he threw this idea out of his mind, and asked the restrained Nebula, "How is it, are you used to staying in Asgard?" Sin Yun nodded, "It's good, but it's too extravagant, a little." She glanced around. Originally thought that Sakar's mansion with a swimming pool was already very luxurious, but after seeing the magnificent Asgard everywhere, she finally understood why she saw Thor, who was 400 caddies. Thor laughed loudly, "Asgard's living standard is the top in the universe, wait for the banquet tonight, let you experience real luxury." A life of luxury is not good, but cool. See the original. Nebula, who is so emotional, has turned into this cute and silly look, and the contrast is too great. Turning to Maya Hansen, he said, "In a few days, I plan to visit the Earth. Do you want to go home and have a look?" It suddenly occurred to me that it had been 10 years since I brought Maya Hansen away from Earth and came to Asgard. Although she has always been alone and has no relatives or friends, it is her home after all. After hearing this, Maya Hansen hesitated for a while, and suddenly showed a cheerful smile. "If you want me to accompany you, then I will accompany you. As for going home, there is no need, our home is now in Asgard." On Earth, a cafe. Thor held an old paper and said to Maya Hansen while looking at it, "Did you see it? It is said that General Ross is conducting a super soldier experiment and has hit a bottleneck. Are you interested? Maybe you can find it in the super soldier serum. Some inspirations to better improve extremis." Thor definitely knew that General Ross' experiment would not be successful. But his experiments led to the birth of the Hulk and the Abomination. "Maybe I can try it. I thought about it more than 10 years ago, but the super soldier serum has long been gone. Even if there is a formula, I can't get it." Maya Hansen took the newspaper and looked at it, and suddenly smiled. Asked, "Hey, let me tell you, you've taken a fancy to someone else's daughter, haven't you?" "Amount," Thor flew forward. But these words reminded Thor. General Ross attached great importance to his plan, and if he rashly wanted to participate, he would definitely not agree. Right now, Ross's daughter Betty Ross is about to graduate, and she will join the research team after graduation. It is very difficult to approach General Ross directly, so let's start with Betty Ross. Chapter 33, The Old-Fashioned Hero Saves the Beauty. "So you're saying that the hammer that fell from the sky in New Mexico is actually yours? Your true identity is a god hidden in the world. Yes, if you have the chance, you might be able to witness the mighty power of the gods." In a brightly lit bar, a young man and woman were talking and laughing in low voices. Tisk tisk, Betty Ross, who had black hair and looked innocent just after graduation, curled her lips. "Is this how you chase girls? Your story is quite interesting. What I said is true. There are still many people in this world who know about my existence, but they choose to keep it a secret. However, it won't be long. TCH, I don't believe you, just make it up." Betty Ross was going to relax before going to work, but she didn't refuse when Thor came to strike up a conversation. She didn't expect this guy to be a magic stick. Thor smiled and didn't refute. In a few years, Stark will admit Iron Man's identity under the lens of a large number of media. By that time, the existence of superhero will no longer be concealed, and will officially enter people's field of vision. "I'm a little dizzy, I'm going back." Betty Ross obviously wasn't very good at drinking. She grew up under her father's strict management since she was a child, and she finally indulged once after graduation. She stood up, staggering, ready to leave. Just a few steps away, a few punks surrounded him. "Beauty, have you drunk too much? It's not safe to go home so late, how can I see you off?" Betty Ross shook her head, "No need, my house is very close." Although she has been a good girl for more than 20 years, she is not a fool, she definitely knows the mind of the little gangster. A group of punks refused to let her go and began to tease her, and Betty Ross pushed left and right. "What are you doing? Let me go. Do you know who I am?" Bang! With a muffled grunt, the little gangster who was pulling him was kicked out and smashed onto a nearby table. The punks were taken aback and looked at Thor, who stood in front of Betty Ross. "Are you okay?" Thor asked, concerned. Betty Ross, who was still in shock, shook her head. "No. It's okay, there are too many of them, let's run, I'll call my dad to solve it." "Don't be afraid, it's okay." Thor smiled lightly. The leading gangster took a good look at Thor. Although there was only one person on the other side, his strong body and the skill of kicking the flying man just now made him feel a little weak. "Brother, which road is it on?" As he spoke, he waved his hand, and all the gangsters around drew out their weapons and surrounded him. Thor turned a deaf ear, and flew up again. If he could do it, he would never force him. Betty Rose was on the phone anxiously. Before she finished dialing the phone number, she couldn't hear the sound of fighting. When she looked up, all the vicious gangsters were lying on the ground. She opened her mouth wide in surprise. "What are you still doing in a daze? Let's go, I'll take you back." Thor smiled and rubbed her hair. Betty Ross wanted to say no, but thinking of the scene just now, she subconsciously didn't refuse. The two got into the car and left. After the two left, "Okay, everyone is gone, get up." The leader of the gangsters just now stood up suddenly and said. As soon as he finished speaking, the bastards who had been lying on the ground wailing got up one by one, looking as if nothing had happened. "Boss, this guy is really fierce. I almost thought I was going to die in the lap just now." Yes, this kid is picking up girls, right? I don't know why the Romanov agent gave us such a strange task. This guy has the potential to be a bit of a jerk, could it be?" With a mean smile. "Shut up, don't die." Chapter 34 Touching Reunion. Half an hour later, at Betty Ross' home. Betty Ross took out a bottle of red wine, poured 2 glasses, and handed one to Thor. "Law fight in 1982, have a drink." After walking for half an hour just now, the drunkenness dissipated long ago. Thor looked at this scene and said with a smile, "When a girl invites a boy to her home and drinks with him, can I imagine what will happen next?" Betty Ross blushed, spat, and said, "What are you thinking? This is the wine I prepared a long time ago, specially reserved to celebrate my graduation. You just happened to be lucky. Don't talk about it, come on, cheers." She changed the subject abruptly, and Thor didn't expose her. He drank the red wine in the glass and asked, "Are you the only one in your family? Where are your parents?" A look of sadness flashed across Betty's face, and she said softly, "My mother left me very early. My father is a soldier. Although he was very strict with me, I saw him very rarely since I was a child. In a few days, I will go to participate in his research project." Obviously, the relationship between Betty and her father is not close, and she simply avoided the topic by saying a few words. Probably a release after depression, Betty drank a little too much tonight, and when the red wine bottomed out, he was already unconscious. Sending her back to the room, Thor hesitated. People obviously don't resist him, should they be beasts, or are they worse than beasts? Between wanting to die brazenly and admitting indifference, Thor decisively chose the latter. In many cases, Thor still kept his integrity. "If I take advantage of others tonight," although Betty Ross will most likely not blame him, but the relationship between the two can be brought to an end. Gently covering her with a quilt, Thor closed the door and went out. As soon as he went out and returned to the car, Thor was blocked. Looking at the pretty black figure in the co-pilot seat, Thor held his forehead. Natalia, long time no see." Natalia, who was dressed in a tight leather jacket, smiled coquettishly, seeing that Thor's bones were half broken. "It's been 10 years, my dear Thor, your Majesty Thor." The resentment in the tone, even Thor, who is said to have only 2 intelligence points, can hear it. I'm so happy, you still remember my name at that time. I haven't heard it for 10 years. I didn't expect that after so many years, the first thing I did when I came back was to ask me to cooperate with you to pick up girls. After working as an agent for so many years, Natalia, who has long been used to controlling her emotions, has the urge to curse at people at this moment. This kind of scumbag is really rare in the world. If you think about it carefully, there really are. There is an even worse one in Manhattan. Thor is sweating profusely. He definitely won't be so stupid as to ask the widow to help. He still has the desire to survive. He obviously contacted the black stewed egg. I guess he is dead bald and embarrassed to do this himself. I simply threw the blame on Natalia. Having said that, it seems that nothing happened between me and Natalia back then, right? Why do you feel guilty about being caught by your wife? Natalia narrowed her eyes and questioned her soul. How did you let go of such a good opportunity just now? This question is very difficult, and if you can't answer it well, you may be suspected of Luziawai. She's drunk, I can't take advantage of her. The gentleman replied. I love you, no matter how beautiful other women are, I won't take another look at them. The scumbag version replied. When we met for the first time 10 years ago, fate connected us together. For so many years, I have been thinking about you all the time. How can other vulgar fans get into my eyes? Standard soap opera answer. However, Thor had an idea and blurted out, a boiled duck cannot fly. A dead version of the answer. Chapter 35 Returning to S.H.I.E.L.D. Natalia stared at Thor, her face clouded. Thor, who had a burst of desire to survive, suddenly sat upright, covered his heart with one hand, and pressed the widow's face with the other, and said affectionately, I once had a sincere love in front of me, but I didn't cherish it. It's too late to regret, the most painful thing in the world is this. Hearing this affectionate confession suddenly, Natalia's face turned rosy instantly, and the tenderness in her eyes almost dripped out. Thornton breathed a sigh of relief, and continued, if God can give me another chance, I will say 3 words to that girl, I love you. If I have to add a time limit to this love, I hope it is 10,000 years. The last half sentence was not said by Thor, but the widow sneered, unfortunately, I went to HK for a mission a few years ago and watched a movie. Thor couldn't help but want to slap himself. Looking at this face that had lost its youthfulness, Thor sighed, and suddenly put his arms around Natalia. Natalia froze, but soon relaxed again. Little girl, I know you are angry. I shouldn't have left you for so long. I don't blame you. At the beginning, I did deliberately use some small tricks to leave a deep impression on Natalia, who was still a child. Deep impression. This title seemed to hit Natalia's memory. She stared blankly at Thor, her eye circles starting to turn red. She lowered her head suddenly, and then raised her head with a bright smile on her face, as if nothing happened just now. So sad, what are you doing? Isn't it a good thing to meet again? It's like parting from life to death. Glancing at Thor, he said softly, you don't need to apologize, you have helped me a lot. Without you, I don't know what I would be like now. I haven't come to see me in these years, I know you must have things to do. Maybe tomorrow, you have other things to be busy, so now. Don't talk, kiss me. The next morning, when Thor walked into S.H.I.E.L.D. holding Natalia's hand, many agents stared straight. Natalia's charm is unparalleled, and it is impossible for no one to be tempted. But all the suitors never got a response, especially since she sent several stalking suitors to the emergency room. Black Widow's name was completely established, and no one dared to provoke her again. Seeing Thor's intimacy with her, S.H.I.E.L.D. howled. In the director's office, Nick Fury said with a helpless face, you have found so many things for me as soon as you came back. Now it is estimated that 80% of the male agents regard you as the enemy of life. Thor looked indifferent. It's just a bunch of licking dogs, don't worry about them. Nick Fury put away his joking thoughts and asked seriously, okay, I need to know your purpose. What do you think about General Ross's research? He definitely wouldn't think that Thor would be so bored that he would send someone to act with him, just to pick up girls, and the most likely thing that might attract him is the military's research. Thor nodded. The military seems to be studying the super soldier plan now. I am a little interested in some of them, and maybe I can give them a little help. Nick Fury said helplessly, since it's a cooperation, you can definitely ask S.H.I.E.L.D. to help negotiate. What exactly do you want? Super soldier serum formula. No. Thor shook his head. The military's formula is not perfect at all. Even if it succeeds, it won't be like Steve Rogers. The bigger possibility is to create an uncontrollable monster. His goal is Hulk, an unrepeatable accidental product. In the previous life, Banner's so-called acceptance of Hulk, the so-called combination of strength and wisdom, actually wasted Hulk's potential at all. Without it, there would be anger and rage. Even with Hulk's power, there would be no Hulk's deterrence anymore. Moreover, becoming Dr. Hulk, the huge body can't even wear anti-Hulk armor, the price is too high. As one of the most powerful combat power, naturally it can't be wasted like this. Chapter 36, A Changed Future. Nick Fury's eyes widened. You already knew the result. Then he slapped his thigh. I almost forgot, you were raised by a witch and can predict the future. Then he picked up the phone, just pressed a few numbers, then hung up suddenly, slapped the table angrily and said, damn, that guy is just a stubborn old man, he doesn't pay attention to S.H.I.E.L.D. at all, and he will do nothing but ridicule him. It won't happen. Then he looked at Thor. Thor spread his hands, you don't need to stop it, and you can't stop it. And although his research is bound to cause problems, it is indeed beneficial to one of your plans. Good for me? Nick Fury thought for a while and thought, you mean, the Avengers plan? You even know about this? This was the plan he initially formulated after Carol left. It was originally called the Asgardian Plan, and he didn't tell anyone about it. Pass. He thought about it, you mean, the monster created by the failed experiment will become a member of the Avengers in the future? God, how many potential Avengers do you know? A lot, but most of them will probably never show up if they are said. So, are you sure you want to listen? Thor is telling the truth, many small changes will cause big changes, just like when he came to lie on the earth on a whim, it inadvertently caused a great impact later. Taking Maya Hansen away reversed the ending of Iron Man's death, throwing a hammer at random changed Natalia's trajectory. But all my actions have been carefully considered. Maya Hansen has little influence on the main plot. Natalia will join S.H.I.E.L.D. sooner or later. But S.H.I.E.L.D. is different. At this point in time, the superhero is as much a source of danger to many as the intruder. This is why the infamous Sokovia Act came about. Once restrictive measures are taken in advance, some superheroes are likely to be strangled in the cradle. Nick Fury understood what he meant and shook his head. He has seen terrible threats in the universe, so he does not want to lose any superhero because of him. In fact, in his plan, there are already several candidates, but he lacks a leader. Although Thor is very strong, he obviously won't stay on Earth for long. Okay, let's not talk about the old days. Thor interrupted his contemplation. He came to S.H.I.E.L.D. to confirm something. Think of a way, let me meet Agent Peggy Carter. Walking out of the office, Natalia took Thor back to the car, and S.H.I.E.L.D. temporarily arranged a residence and an identity for him. I will be the Avenger you say, right? Natalia asked quietly. Thor couldn't help but sigh, this is a very smart woman, and she heard a lot from the conversation between herself and Braised Egg. He joked, "Why, do you think I saw your potential and treated you so well on purpose?" Natalia didn't speak, just looked at him straight. Thor whispered, "Whether I intervene or not, you are destined to embark on the road of superhero and become one of the greatest Avengers. And what I saved and helped was Natalia, not Black Widow." Natalia was silent, and asked after a long time, "In the future, my death will be valuable, isn't it?" Thor's heart skipped a beat. "So sharp?" "Yes. When everyone gave up, you were the only one who persisted. In the end, your persistence turned around. You sacrificed yourself and saved 3.5 billion people." Thor suppressed his emotions as much as possible and spoke calmly. At first, he didn't really care about such an ordinary mortal. Even as a member of the Avengers, he was more responsible for some auxiliary work. Until her tragic and insignificant ending, she was forgotten in a foreign land alone. At the final memorial service, it was Iron Man who was remembered. But that is no longer your future, nor is it the future I want. The trajectory of your destiny changed as early as the moment we met. Yet, Natalia smiled, and she raised the Hercules bracelet on her hand. "I didn't have you in my future, at most it was just a comrade in arms and a partner. But now I have it." Chapter 37 It and number 039, S done tonight. The temporary residence S.H.I.E.L.D. arranged for him was a very delicate villa, and the identity of the arrangement was a high-level agent. When he came to the residence, Thor planned to keep Natalia behind with the cheek, but when he saw Maya Hansen at the door waiting for him to come back, Natalia smiled meaningfully and left. "Who is she?" Maya Hansen looked wary. Originally, the straight girl of steel was not that sensitive. "The problem is, Natalia is so beautiful, even as a woman, I can't help being moved, this opponent is too high." Thor patted her on the head, and said angrily, "What are you thinking about? Do you remember the little girl before we left? She has grown up and is now the top 10th level agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Maya Hansen said clearly, "Your vision is still so good. 10 years ago, you could see that a little girl would grow up to be so outstanding. By the way, you came to tease me on purpose back then, because you saw the potential of Extremis, right?" Thor said seriously, "I can often see a person's future potential, so I can do some things in advance and make some layouts. Natalia is the same, and so are you. In fact, Betty Ross is also. Although she is a soy sauce in the movie, she has the potential to become a female Hulk." The topic changed, and he continued, "But you have to understand that I have principles. If I don't really have a crush on you, even if I meet the future savior, I won't betray my beauty." The shameless words immediately ruined the atmosphere, and Maya Hansen said angrily, "If you can speak seriously, I can really treat you as a Prince Charming. And don't forget, when we were together, you were already It's a Fat House, how can there be any beauty?" The weird atmosphere was swept away, and the two finally relaxed and chatted about their respective affairs. Last night, Maya Hansen went back to her former hometown. It's a pity that after so many years, things have changed. Maya Hansen, who had no relatives or friends, couldn't even find a single acquaintance. Even her disappearance that year did not cause the slightest disturbance. Definitely, this is also due to the intervention of SHIELD. Otherwise, the disappearance of a person for no reason, even a well-known botanist, will always cause a sensation. As for Thor's whereabouts last night, she didn't hide it from her. After so many years, Maya Hansen has long been used to it. After all, as the prince of God's domain, Asgard has a large group of coquettish sluts who want to hug this thigh. On the dim seat, two young figures cuddled together and whispered. "When I left last night, I left a note with contact information. Betty Ross fell asleep with a hangover until noon today, and then called in the afternoon. She first expressed her apology for being drunk last night, and then asked him to go to the movies tonight. Betty Ross chose a new movie called Alice vs. Zombies. Generally, when a man and a woman who have just met each other watch a movie, if the boy chooses a horror movie, it will definitely be regarded as having bad intentions. And the woman's doing so is often a hint of further communication. Girls are often privileged in this regard. Gas, shaking, cold. As the majestic god of thunder, Thor definitely won't be afraid of mere zombies, things that fall down with a hammer. Anyway, where is my hammer? Mjolnir in the New Mexico crater, meow meow. But Betty Ross is different. She still can't see the iron-blooded ability of General Ross in her young body, and she is often so scared that she hugs Thor. After watching the movie, they returned to Betty Ross's house, and the two drank some wine together. Betty Ross didn't drink much tonight and stayed sober. With a flushed face, she pulled Thor and breathed, "Rulan, if you leave again tonight, I will wonder if you like men." Thornton felt a burst of excitement. Could it be that? All right for tonight? Just then, there was an untimely knock on the door. Chapter 38, Asgardian Responsibilities. Who is that? It was not only Thor who was disturbed, but also Betty Ross. She was very helpless and depressed. Tonight, she finally mustered up the courage. A somewhat hoarse female voice sounded outside the door. "I'm looking for a Mr. Thor, is he there?" Betty Ross was taken aback for a moment, and suddenly looked puzzled. Thor was also stunned. He didn't tell others where he was going tonight. Maya Hansen was busy making up for the changes in the earth over the years. The only one who can guess her whereabouts is Natalia, so the identity of the person outside the door. Thor walked to the door with a helpless expression. With a squeak, the door opened. The people outside the door stared blankly at Betty Ross in the living room, staring wide-eyed. "Who opened the door just now?" This is a hall full of strong Oriental style, surrounded by piano, chess, calligraphy, and paintings. At the moment it was noon, and the sun shone in through the window, warming my body. For a moment, Thor thought he had traveled through time again. He was still at Betty Ross's house just now, opening the door for an uninvited guest who disturbed the good things. Unexpectedly, the moment the door was opened, a golden halo appeared under the feet, and then the floor was empty. It was dark before his eyes, and then he opened his eyes, and he had already come here. Looking at the white egg in front of him. "Oh, it should be a white woman with a bald head," Thor said. "I was brought here for no reason. Is this how Kamartaj treats guests?" 9 of the 10 bald heads are strong, and one is a stewed egg. The monk-robed woman in front of her is none other than the bald-headed Chiang, the current sorcerer supreme of Kamartaj, the Asgardian of Earth, the master of Ancient One. Leaving aside the big bald head, Ancient One is actually a British beauty with a mysterious aura all over her body. Ancient One poured him a cup of tea with his own hands, and said, "Thor Odinson, I observed you a long time ago, since 1995. Thor's heart skipped a beat. 95 years? Isn't it the time I traveled through? I have been monitoring those people and things from other worlds, because they may be potential threats to this world." Ancient One continued. "Wait," Thor interrupted, "but in fact, I am not from another world." The Ancient One magician nodded slightly. "Yes, you are the son of Odin, you are indeed from this world. However, 10 years ago, a strange change occurred in your soul, you disappeared for an instant, and then returned. Although this process is very short, but I still feel it. Can you tell me where your soul is going?" Thor thought for a while, and said seriously, "You can understand it as a parallel world." Ancient One nodded slightly, but didn't go into it. She continued, "Since then, the timeline of this world seems to have shifted. At first I was puzzled, but later I discovered that all the shifts point to you. It is my duty to protect the Earth from other latitudes." Thor suddenly felt a burst of vigilance. At this time, Ancient One is as powerful as the peak Odin. If he wants to do something to himself, he is definitely not an opponent. And more importantly, Camartage blocked Heimdall's sight, so he couldn't summon Bifrost himself. Ancient One didn't do anything, she asked slowly, why do you want to change the trajectory of history? Every timeline has its own fixed trajectory. Forcibly changing the trajectory of time is a violation of natural law, breaking the rules. Sooner or later there will be a price to be paid, our world will be turned upside down and millions will suffer. Ha ha ha! Thor suddenly laughed. But as a sorcerer supreme, you also did not obey the rules. In the future, your successors will also break the rules to fight against Dormammu. The Ancient One magician has some Dormammu's power in him. Others don't know it, but Thor knows it. Perhaps in your opinion, this is all to maintain the timeline you know. Therefore, you can accept your own death and the betrayal of Motu magician. But I can't. I won't accept my family being killed, my people will be slaughtered, my homeland will be destroyed in Ragnarok, and Natalia will die in space. If the future must be like this, then this kind of future is not worth it. Ancient One was silent for a while Thor was secretly vigilant, thinking of a way to break the situation. After a long time, Ancient One raised his head and suddenly smiled. You're right. Chapter 39 Destiny, the Villain and Number 039, S Loneliness. What, is it strange? Ancient One couldn't help asking, looking at Thor in a daze. Yes, you have told me your responsibilities, but you let me do it. I thought you would choose to bring this timeline back on track. Thor said frankly. He really did not expect that Ancient One would be so easily persuaded. He was ready to fight to the death. He didn't doubt Ancient One's strategy of delaying the attack. Ancient One's strength and identity simply didn't bother to do so. The strong have their pride, just like Thanos has committed numerous crimes in the universe, but he never lies. Ancient One patiently explained to him, what has happened cannot be changed, even if I am an Asgardian from Eye of Agamotto. At most, I can only start from now, restrict you, and guarantee the future direction. Then why? Because the future has changed. Before you came, I used the Eye of Agamotto to observe the direction of the future thousands of times, some for better and some for worse. And in the branch where I stop you, there is no good ending. Once I force you, you are even more dangerous than Dormammu. With a swipe of Ancient One, a golden circle appeared. Some pictures began to appear inside, like a movie. It's already one of the better ones. In the picture, Ancient One traps Thor with a mirror image, seals the memory brought by time travel, and uses Time Gem to return his strength to 1995. But when the memory was about to be reset, an orange light flashed past. The last Infinite Gems experience coupon, Soul Gem, create an indistinguishable soul that is exactly the same as the target, generated at a specified location, at an optional time and place. Valid for 1 minute. The effect of tasteless, but it took effect at this time. The picture continues to advance, seeing the invasion of the Dark Elves, seeing Ragnarok, seeing Infinity War, the exact same process as in memory, and the soul created by Soul Gem has been missing for a long time. It seems to have disappeared until... This is a world with beautiful mountains and rivers. Thanos tremblingly picked a fruit from the ground, put it in a bag, and walked into the room with a limping. Every step was accompanied by heavy panting. Boiled a pot of hot soup, drank it in one gulp, regained some strength, and walked to the door instead, watching the rising sun. Finally, it is time to rest and watch the sunrise with the gratitude of the universe. Raising my left hand, looking at the 6 hard-won gems, worries arose in my heart. The universe needs to be corrected, after which the gems are useless, just temptation. A faint figure appeared, it was the Avenger who chopped him down. Without looking up, Thanos whispered, "This time, you can behead." The figure didn't make a move, but said without emotion, "If half of the life is wiped out, can the other half prosper? That's impossible. As long as there are people who still care about the past, they will never be able to accept the future, and they will definitely rebel." If you want to truly achieve your goal, you must turn this universe into atomic dust. Then, create a new universe. The life there has no resentment for loss, only gratitude for giving, a universe that knows how to be grateful. After saying this, the figure disappeared, leaving Thanos there thinking. After a long time, he finally stood up, his eyes regained his firmness. Let me bear this crime alone. The lonely figure stood on this land, looking a little desolate. He stretched out his hand, snapped his fingers with a snap. I am destiny. Chapter 40, Steve Rogers. The screen disappears, and Thor is dumbfounded. Blacken is 10 times stronger, the ancients do not deceive me. I am such an honest person, it is said that in a certain 7-point scale, the IQ is only 2 points, once Blacken can be so good? With a smug smile, Thor turned his head to look at Ancient One. Okay, the movie was well shot. But since you don't intend to embarrass me, why did you bring me here, just to chat with me? Ancient One shook his head, and said slowly, a long time ago, I noticed that there was something wrong with this timeline, and some openings could not be closed normally. Your mutation 12 years ago made this feeling even more obvious. For a long time, I have not been able to find the reason. Until recently, I did not understand that the key to this loophole lies in you. You are the only one who can fix the loophole. Once the problem of the timeline breaks out, the consequences are much more serious than changing the future. When the timeline of this world cannot be connected into a complete line, then the entire circuit may collapse. So, I found you and asked you to help restore time. I don't think you want to lose everything you own, do you? Thor nodded. Although I don't understand the previous technical terms, I still understand the last sentence. Okay, how can I help you? Relax and accept the power of the Eye of Agamotto. On Ancient One's chest, a dazzling green light flashed. Wait, suddenly remembering Thor who hadn't explained anything at home, before he could say the last sentence, he lost consciousness. Hey, congratulations to the host for triggering the Ancient One's exclusive mission, Eternal Secret. With the help of Dormammu's dark power, Ancient One has achieved immortality. Help Ancient One, maybe you can understand the mystery. Mission objective, complete the repair of the time loophole. Mission reward, active skill, immortality. Immortality, it has eternal lifespan, will not age, and can actively use it on other targets whose strength level is lower than that of the host, and bestow the power of immortality. If the target's strength is too strong, it cannot be used. As soon as he regained consciousness, Thor heard a prompt from the system. Seeing the word eternal life, I was so excited that I almost cried out. Eternal life, through the ages, the dreams of many races. Even if he is as strong as Odin and Ancient One, he can't do it, but he wants to achieve it. Unfortunately, this task is difficult to complete at first glance. Done with bug fixes? Does Ancient One Magician regard itself as an antivirus software, just click a one-click repair? Thor was bewildered. Then, where is this? I was still in the Camartage Hall just now, why did I come to this street in the blink of an eye? Where did Ancient One lose itself? And this street looks too backward, like the old society. He took out his mobile phone and took a look. Yashao, what the hell is this place? Asgard's high-tech mobile phone has no signal. In a nearby alley, there was a sudden sound of fighting. This place doesn't seem to be law and order, there are people fighting in broad daylight. Thor wasn't so nosy at first, but now he was in a bad mood after being tricked by Ancient One, so he was going to find someone to beat him up to vent his anger. In the alley, it was not so much a fight as a bullying of a 1.8-meter strong man against a 1.9-meter short man. The short man got up from the ground, picked up a round trash can lid to block in front of him, but was pulled off by the opponent, threw it aside, and punched him again, knocking him down to the ground. The tall man was about to step on it when he was suddenly pulled back. Looking back, a blond man was smiling at him. Stop beating, have some quality. Don't force me to slap you. Typical fuel to the fire. If you are cowardly, where will you put your face? None of your business. He punched the door in the face, and then found that the other party was gone. While he was in a daze, there was a burst of force on his face. With a bang, the whole person was thrown into the air, and then another punch was aimed at the other cheek. Bang bang bang, the sound of fists hitting the flesh continued continuously. At the entrance of the alley, a young man in an army uniform stared dumbfounded at a 170-pound strong man who was hit by an infinite uppercut without falling to the ground. With the last punch, the strong man lay on the side like a dead dog. The thin young man on the ground got up and muttered, "I almost knocked him down just now." Then he turned to look at Thor. "Thank you anyway. My name is Steve Rogers, what about you?" End of the chapter. Like and subscribe for more videos like this.